strategy implementation and evaluation. The last chapter in your syllabus, what is there in this particular chapter abdina, we had learned what is a strategy and how a strategy has to be formulated, then how we'll go for deciding what is needed for the organization, internal analysis, external analysis, environment la enna madri analysis is needed, and what kind of theories are there. Nariya theories alla paathom illaya, nariya matrix we had learned, like what is needed to understand the complete environment and also the organization. Last part, which is all about implementation and evaluation of strategy. Once it is formulated abdina, how these things will happen. Appo introductory part la or overview la they had given like what all will be understanding or will be learning in this particular chapter. Introduction part la they had given like what is a strategic management process, what is the strategy implementation appdi solranga. Implementation is nothing but putting the plans and initiatives, whatever it is, whatever is developed into an action thing. So whatever we had already decided, we are putting into action, that is implementation. What is evaluation? It is nothing but measuring and assessing the effectiveness of that particular action. Measuring and assessing the effectiveness, both these things are different. Strategic implementation and evaluation. Implementation is all about putting into action, and evaluation is nothing but measuring and assessing the effectiveness of this particular action. Strategic management process, again we'll go from the first chapter. It is all about any organization. First they wanted to develop something called as vision, mission, values and goals, because they have to design this, so that we'll have to find out like what are the different options available. Once the options available are found out, now we'll choose which one is the most apt one, like which option should be should be chosen, so that our success will be effective. We'll have an introductory part in this. And completely, whenever we say strategic management process, it is all about a dynamic and continuous process. It keeps on changing, right? Environment keeps on changing. Whenever there is a change, that change sometimes might be an opportunity, sometimes it might be a threat. So that opportunity has to be used, the threat has to be realized earlier, and we have to work accordingly into the strategic management process. This generally strategic management process, it will always be like formulation, implementation, evaluation and control. So here we have some Fred or David strategic management model. Formulation we have something like developing the vision, mission, objectives. There we will be going for environmental analysis and organization appraisal. We also generate, analyze and select strategy. Implementation phase we will go and implement the strategies. Evaluation we will go for evaluation and control of the strategies, like how it is implemented, what all we'll be learning. So many things are there. Here we had just given an example of Fred or David model. So this model actually tells us like how the strategic management process is happening. So formulation, implementation and evaluation, how it happens. Next, what are the different stages in strategic management is provided. So any organization, if they wanted to be successful, we have to not only develop the strategy but also to implement it. That is to say, effectively you have to implement the strategy. So what are the different steps or stages involved in strategic management process? The first step is developing a vision, and we have to formulate mission, goals and objectives. So once it is done, we have to go with analyzing the environment and the organization. Then we'll formulate, create the strategies. We'll go for implementing the strategies, and finally we'll have strategic evaluation and controls. So what is the first one? We'll go for vision, mission, objectives, goals. Right? Then we'll go for analysis of the environment and also the organization, because we have to find out like what is internally good, what is externally bad, what kind of threats might happen, everything we have to analyze. Then we'll formulate the strategies and we'll implement. Then finally we'll check whether it is effective or not. That is strategic evaluation and control. But step by step we'll be learning in detail. First one is strategic vision, mission and objectives. What direction the organization will go, what change is needed when it comes to the company's product or market, if there is any changes needed, customer related things, technology related things, what all things has to be changed or altered, that has to be decided first. How to try to modify the company's makeup and market position, it should carve out. This also will be a question, like what has to be done so that we will be successful, what change has to be brought in, what kind of things we have to concentrate and focus upon. All these things will be taught in this particular vision, mission, objectives and goals stage. A clearly articulated strategic vision communicates the aspirations to the stakeholders and also help to steer the energies of the company's personnel in a common direction. So this is all we had already studied, right? Vision na ennangirathu we had already studied. The same point is repeated. Next one is mission and strategy intent. Managers need to be clear about what they see as the role of their organization. This is mission. What they see about the role of the organization, this is nothing but a mission. What is seeking to achieve, what it is expectations, overall strategic direction, where it will be, everything has to be taught in this mission and strategic intent. At the corporate goals and objectives அப்படின்றது next it will come from the mission and also the ambition of the corporation, like what is the growth requirement, what kind of characteristics it possessing, what kind of environment it has to concentrate in. Generally to say, objectives are nothing but providing the basis for which major decisions can be taken, and it also helps the organizational performance to be realized at each level. ஒரு லெவல்லையுமே what kind of performance is expectedங்கிறது objectivesல we'll be able to find out. Again they have given, see, objectives are needed at all organizational levels. It should not be stopping at top management. It goes for the every level, every department, every individual work. We need to have some objective. Company's objectives need to be broken down into performance targets for each separate business, product line, functional department, individual work unit. Company performance can't reach full potential unless there is an organization does its parts and contributes directly for the outcomes and results. This means setting performance target for organization rather than conflict with or negate the achievement of the company-wide strategic and financial objectives. Adula we are going first one we have decided like what is the mission, vision, objectives and goals. All those things is decided in the stage 1. Second stage we'll go for analyzing the environment and the organization. So there are classified into 2 types in this analysis. Generally to say, the strategic analysis is generally divided into 2 types, environmental scanning and organizational goals. Environmental scanning la what we will do, sir? Environmental scanning பொறுத்தளவுக்கு we will analyze the environment. So for example, external environment already நம்ம படிச்சிட்டோம் இல்லீங்களா, economic, social, technological, market and other forces whatever it is contributing. And the external environment is all about very dynamic and uncertainty is there, right? It is not in our periphery, it is not in our control ங்கிறப்போ there might be some changes happening, அப்போ அது change ஆகிட்டே இருக்கும். That we have to remember. So ultimately whatever we get from external might be an opportunity or a threat, correct? It might be an opportunity or a threat. When it comes to internal environment, adha nam organizational analysis appdin solli solranga. Organizational analysis is all about reviewing the financial resources, technological resources, productive capacity, marketing, distributive effectiveness, research and development, human resource skills, all these things. So all these things when we analyze abdina, we'll try to find out our strength and weakness. So both these things can be identified, right? So threat, opportunities, threat and strength and weakness can be matched upon so that we'll get something benefit like strength weakness analysis, strength and SWOT analysis generally to say இல்லையா, இது ஆல்ரெடி நம்ம படிச்சிட்டோம். Third stage is formulation strategy. Formulation strategy la the first step is like finding out the alternatives, like if this is not good, what can be chosen, right? அப்போ ஒரு லிஸ்ட் போடணும். ஓகே, இதெல்லாம் இல்லைன்னா இதெல்லாம் இருக்கும். அப்போ அந்த லிஸ்ட்டில் we should have a complete understanding, right? Which will be the best out of the options. Options create பண்ணுறது is the first step in strategic formulation. Once that is done, we have to list out which will be the best. Analysis of the various strategic alternatives is the next thing. The first step in strategic formulation is developing strategic alternatives in the light of an organization, strength and weakness, opportunities and threats in the environment. The second step is deep analysis of various strategic alternatives for the purpose of choosing the most appropriate alternative which will serve as the strategy of the firm. May be confronted with several alternatives, நிறைய alternatives இருக்கு சார். In the business lay, should the company continue, sir? Should the company continue in same business, same volume of activity? Should it continue? If it should continue in the same business, அதோட expansion எப்படி இருக்கணும்? Existing unit, new unit, or acquiring other units? This might be a question. Or if it is diversify abdina, should it be diversifying into related areas or unrelated areas? அதே மாதிரி existing business இருந்து partly for partially how it will like exit, உங்களுடைய exiting எப்படி இருக்கணும், ஃபுல்லாவே exit ஆகணுமா இல்ல partly exit ஆகணுமா? These many questions will be there. இப்போ இதெல்லாம் alternatives அப்படினு சொல்லி சொல்றாங்க. right? இந்த alternatives வச்சு தான் நம்ம ஆல்ரெடி படிச்சிருக்கோம். ஸ்டெபிலிட்டி, எக்ஸ்பான்ஷன், ரெட்ரென்ச்மெண்ட் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜின்னு சொல்லிட்டு. கரெக்டாக ஸ்டெபிலிட்டி இஸ் லைக் கண்டினியூ, எக்ஸ்பாண்ட் இஸ் லைக் எக்ஸ்பாண்டிங், ரெட்ரென்ச்மெண்ட் இஸ் ரிடக்ஷன், ஆல் தீஸ் திங்ஸ், ரைட்? இதோட காம்பினேஷன் ஆஃப் நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ணது காம்பினேஷன் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜி அப்படின்னு சொல்லியிருப்பாங்கல்ல. அது அகைன் they have given the overall view. இதெல்லாம் நம்ம படித்ததே தான் திருப்பி they are giving you an overview மாதிரி கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. So these are the 3 stages. Fourth stage is the implementation of strategy stage. It is all about operations because முன்னாடி இருக்கிறது எல்லாமே theoretical. We can design something, we can do some things, but ultimately we have to go into action for implementation of any strategy. Implementation and execution are an operations oriented activity aimed at the shaping the performance of the core business activities in strategy supportive manner. It is most demanding and time consuming part of the strategic management process. To convert a plan into an action and results, a manager must be able to direct organizational change, motivate people, and build and strengthen companies' competencies and competitive capabilities, create a strategy supportive work climate, meet or beat performance targets. Right? இது எல்லாத்தையுமே நம்ம யோசிக்கணும் implementation because we have to motivate them, right? They have to be confident enough to go for that particular change. கரெக்ட்டுங்களா? சேஞ்ச் பண்ணால் தானே இம்ப்ளிமெண்டேஷன் நடக்கும். ஆல்ரெடி something is happening, we wanted to develop something. If we wanted to develop something, automatically change management happens. For that, people has to be motivated. Most situations la strategic execution process includes the following aspects. என்னங்க? Developing budget that steer ample resources into this activity is critical for success. Success related ஆனதுக்கு we have to budget. Next is staffing. What is the need for a skill? What is the expertise needed? Consciously we have to build and strengthen supportive competencies, capabilities we have to develop, all these things இல்லையா? அதே policies and operating procedures we have to create. Best to known practices has to be chosen, we have to be using it. Installing informations and operating system, operating system, how the personnel will get out the roles in a day in and day out la eppadi organization la the work nadakkum. Motivating people is most important thing. We have to create a culture and work climate in the company so that it is becoming successful. Implementation and evaluation happens. Exerting internal leadership needed to drive implementation forward and keep improving strategic execution. When the organization encounters stumbling blocks and weaknesses, management has to see that they are addressed and rectified quickly. இதெல்லாம் தான் என்ன பாயிண்ட்னு சொல்லியிருக்காங்க, strategic execution processல வரக்கூடிய விஷயங்கள். Budgeting, staffing, policies and operational procedures has to be ensured. Best known practices has to be used, information system, operation system has to be installed. Motivating people is very important. We have to create a company culture and work climate. Internal leadership has to be empowered. Good strategy execution involves creating strong fits between the strategy and the organizational capabilities, between the strategy and the reward structure. Whatever is the strategy, what is the reward type we have to develop. And the fifth stage is strategic evaluation and control. The final stage of strategic management process is evaluating the company's process, assessing the impact, both these things, right? Evaluating the company's process, progress, and assessing the impact, like what developments can be made, what adjustment changes can be made, all these things has to be developed. So long as the company's direction and strategy seem well matched to the industry and competitive conditions and performance targets are being met, company executives may decide to stay the course. Simply fine-tuning the strategic plan and continuing with ongoing efforts to improve strategy execution are sufficient. But whenever a company encounters disruptive changes in the external environment, question needs to be raised about the appropriateness. What way we are moving in, it has to be decided. If the company experiences a downturn, market position la ido short fall agudhu appadina, whatever is the company leader thing, they have to find out like what is the strategy. Is it a poor implementation, poor execution, what was the reason, or both, what is the corrective action? Everything we have to be finding it out. Proficient strategy execution is always the product of much organizational learning. It is achieved unevenly, coming quickly in some areas and proving nettlesome and problematic in others. It is always there, right? One time we will be getting some positive things, some other time it will be like negative things. Same goes, right? And the learning aspect la the profit related things. Periodically assessing what aspects of strategy execution are working well and what needs improving is normal and desirable. Successful strategy execution entails vigilantly searching for ways or continuously improve and then making corrective adjustments whenever and wherever it is useful to do so. So you have to check that also. இப்போ அகெயின் மறுபடியும் வந்து டீட்டெயில்டாக ஃபார்முலேஷன் கான்செப்ட்னா என்ன, அப்புறம் ஒவ்வொரு இதுலேயுமே தியரிட்டிக்கலாக என்னென்ன இருக்குது அப்படின்னு சொல்லி பார்ப்போம். ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக் ஃபார்முலேஷனில் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வில் பி கெட்டிங் இன் டு கார்ப்பரேட் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜி. Planning entails choosing what has to be done in the future, and we also have to develop a plan, creating action plan. An essential element of effective management is adequate planning. Choosing a path of action to achieve defined goals is a part of planning, whatever it is. Towards success, what is the game plan, sir? What direction the company has to move on, right? What direction the company has to move on, and what is the main important things which will lead us to success is nothing but the corporate strategy. Corporate strategy is nothing but the game plan that really directs the company towards success. One mark nu solla mudiyadhu, like case based la somewhere you will be asked with. So the game plan that directs the company towards success is corporate strategy. They involve gathering and collecting resources in order to achieve organizational goals. இது ரெண்டு இருக்கும், ஆப்ரேஷனல் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக் பிளானிங் அண்ட் ஆப்ரேஷனல் பிளானிங்கு அடுத்து ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக் பிளானிங் ரெண்டு விதமாக பிரிச்சிருப்பாங்க, ரைட்? ஆப்ரேஷனல்ங்கிறது லைக் டே டு டே இதில் வந்து வாட் கைண்ட் ஆஃப் பாசிபிலிட்டிஸ் எவ்ரி திங் இஸ் தேர் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி போட்டிருப்பாங்க. ஒரு மிடில் லெவல்லையோ இல்லை ஒரு லோயர் லெவல்லையோ என்னென்ன பிளானிங் எப்படி அவங்க எஃபெக்டிவாக பண்ணுறாங்க ப்ராக்டிக்கலி ரிசோர்ஸஸ் இருக்கிறத வச்சு அப்படின்றது ஆப்ரேஷனல் பிளானிங். ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக் பிளானிங் இஸ் ஆல்வேஸ் லைக் ஒரு சீனியர் டெவலப்மெண்ட் மேனேஜர் ஆர் சம் ஒன் இந்த சீனியர் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட்டும் தேல் பி டிசைனிங் லைக் வாட் இஸ் நீடட், அது யார் என்ன பண்ணணுங்கிறத டிசைன் பண்ணுவாங்க. இங்கே ரொம்ப டீட்டெயில்டாக கொடுத்துருப்பாங்க கார்ப்பரேட் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜி அண்ட் corporate strategy, strategic planning and operational planning. Strategic planning shapes the organization and its resources, whereas operational planning deals with the current deployment of resources. Strategic planning impacts the assessment of environmental variables. It is a complete view of the organization. Overall objectives and overall strategies are developed. Long-term success is the borderlands of this particular strategic planning. Every time it will be prepared, or responsibility will be in the hands of senior management. Operational planning பொறுத்தளவுக்கு current development resources tactics தான் சொல்லும், like what can be done. அந்த இடத்துல current operations தான், nothing like ஃபியூச்சரிஸ்டிக்காக மட்டும் இருக்காது. இந்த இருக்கிற ஆப்ரேஷன்ஸ் வாட் கேன் பி சேஞ்ச்ட் இன் ஃபியூச்சர் அந்த மாதிரி தான் இருக்கும். மாடிஃபிகேஷன்ஸ் வில் பி தேர், பட் ஃபண்டமெண்டல் சேஞ்சஸ் மே நாட் பி தேர். ஃபங்க்ஷனல் மேனேஜர்ஸ் தான் இந்த ஆப்ரேஷனல் பிளானிங்கில் தே வில் பி இன்சார்ஜ். மறுபடியும் இந்த ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக் பிளானிங்கில் டீட்டெயில்டாக கொடுத்துருப்பாங்க. த கிளைம் பிளான் தட் ரியலி டைரக்ட்ஸ் த கம்பெனி டுவர்ட்ஸ் சக்ஸஸ் இஸ் கார்ப்பரேட் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜி. இந்த சேம் பாயிண்ட் இஸ் ரிப்பீட்டட், ரைட்? ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக் பிளானிங் இஸ் த ப்ராசஸ் ஆஃப் டிட்டர்மைனிங் த ஆப்ஜெக்டிவ்ஸ் ஆஃப் த ஃபர்ம், ரிசோர்சஸ் ரெக்வயர்ட் டு அட்டைன் தீஸ் ஆப்ஜெக்டிவ்ஸ் அண்ட் ஃபார்முலேஷன் ஆஃப் பிளான்ஸ் to govern acquisition, use and disposal of resources. It involves the fact of interactive and overlapping decisions relating to the development of any strategy of the firm, determines where an organization is going over the next year or more. எந்த வழியே எங்கே போகுது, எதை நோக்கி போயிட்டுருக்கு அப்படின்னு. The process is organization wide and focused on major functions such as division or major function. So these are the things when it comes to strategic planning. Strategic planning அப்படின்றப்ப it is nothing but corporate strategy என்னன்னு கொடுத்துட்டாங்க, objectives டிசைட் பண்ணுறது and interactive and overlapping decisions will be made. Where will be in the future, இந்த வழியில் போனால் what will be the final future, and it is part of a function or sometimes it is a part of a division also. Strategic uncertainty. Next one, what is the strategic uncertainty? Sir, if something like unpredictability happens, sir, I am not sure like what will happen in the future. The future is unpredictable அப்படினா then it is called as strategic uncertainty. If there is a strategic uncertainty, how to deal with it is the next category of topic. Okay, அப்போ strategic uncertainty maybe like ஏதோ ஒன்றா இருக்கலாம், maybe like marketல some changes might happen, technology changes might happen, competitionல, regulationல, whatever it is, anything has happened. How to deal with this strategic uncertainty, if at all? எப்போ ப்ராப்ளம் வரும்? if the strategy is not flexible, is not resilient, it is not agile அப்படின்னா then there will be a problem. அப்போ how to deal with it ன்னு பாருங்க. Dealing with the strategic uncertainty can be challenging and organizations need to have the flexibility, resilience and agile to quickly respond to the changes in the environment and minimize its impact. To be manageable, they need to be grouped into logical clusters or themes. It is then useful to assess the importance of each cluster in order to set priorities with respect to the information gathering and analysis. Flexibility. They have to develop flexible strategies. Flexibility irukkum strategy la whatever is the change management is happening, accordingly the flexibility has to be ensured. Next one is diversification. Product oda portfolio, market, customer base idu ellathiyume diversified if they are having na, there will be reduced impact of strategic uncertainty. Monitoring and scenario planning. Scenarios has to be planned so that different scenarios ku thagunda mari different strategies eppadi strategies and scenarios pirichu vecha andha alavukku and strategy la impact create agum. Organizations can regularly monitor key indicators of change and conduct scenario planning to understand how different future scenarios might impact their strategies. Adutha, building resilience. Organizations can invest in building internal resilience such as strengthening their operational processes, increasing their financial flexibility, improving their risk management capabilities. Resilience, like how much they'll get back to the, like அந்த fighting power எப்படி இருக்கு, எப்படி அந்த வந்து அந்த அவங்களுடைய அந்த டவுன்ஃபால் வந்து டக்குன்னு எப்படி லைக் regrow ஆகிறாங்க அப்படின்றது தான் resilience. Collaboration and partnership. It is always better to collaborate and do some partnerships. Like someone will be good in something, அவங்க குட்டாக இருக்கும்போது we'll get the benefit out of them, right? அது collaborating with other organizations. It might be a supplier, it might be a customer, or it might be some resources sharing, risk sharing, whatever it is. நம்ம collaborate and partnership பண்ணும்போது இதெல்லாமே ஹெல்ப்ஃபுல்லாக இருக்கும். லைக் இது இந்த மாதிரி டெவலப் பண்ணி வச்சோம்னா we can easily cope up with the strategic uncertainty. What kind of impact will be created by this strategic uncertainty? Like it will be like என்ன வேணாலும் நடக்கலாம். Each element of strategic uncertainty involves trends and events that would have an impact in a present, proposed, even potential business la kuda anything might happen. Trend towards natural foods may present opportunities for juices for a firm producing aerated drinks on the basis of strategic uncertainty. The impact of strategic uncertainty will depend on the importance of the SBUs to a firm. Some SBUs are more important than others. The importance of SBUs may be indicated by their associated sales, profits or costs. Like whatever is the cost associated, how much ever is the sale, accordingly will be the things, right? அப்போ என்ன மாதிரி impact create ஆகும்னா it will always be dependable. எப்படி எந்த இண்டஸ்ட்ரியோட relate ஆகும். Sometimes an industry might be like very strong, but அந்த இண்டஸ்ட்ரிக்கு அந்த uncertainty might not be a very big difficulty, like பெரிய impact create பண்ணுற மாதிரி இருக்காது. However, such measures might need to be supplemented for potential growth as present sales, profits or cost may not reflect the true value. இதெல்லாமே என்ன ஹெட்டில் பார்த்துருக்கோம் நம்ம, ஃபார்முலேஷன், கார்பரேட் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜி ஃபஸ்ட்டில் அது என்னென்னு பார்த்தோம், அது எப்படி ஃபார்முலேட் பண்ணோம், அதில் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக் பிளானிங்னு ஒன்று இருந்துச்சு, ஆப்ரேஷனல் பிளானிங்னு ஒன்று இருந்துச்சு, வாட் இஸ் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக் பிளானிங், வாட் இஸ் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக் அன்சர்டனிட்டி, இதெல்லாமே பார்த்துட்டோம். நெக்ஸ்ட் ஒன் இஸ் இம்ப்ளிமெண்டேஷன்.